I hope
Well,
they do a Bollywood Star Wars. Just emerging market Bollywood Star Wars.
I would like to see that.
I
Please.
think that'd be great. I think it'd be
Or
hilarious.
the Russians make some pretty crazy movies too.
Oh my God, yes.
You know who I
Those
like?
guys are nuts.
I love the Korean films scene right now, because I feel like Korea is making movies. South Korea is making movies that are similar to late 80s, early 90s American movies. I like Train to Busan. I watched the other day, was really good. I Saw the Devil is really cool. And, I Saw the Devil is like a guy, his wife gets taken for trafficking, and he's just like a dock worker or whatever. But he's like walking around just beating the ever-loving shit out of whoever he comes across because his wife was taken for trafficking, and that's just what you have to do.
Right.
I'm loving their stuff right now. And I want to see more of that. And it's like, okay, if America's going to take stuff global, can we go to places where people actually like cool stories and like the fact that there are differences between genders of people, and that's okay. Like the thing I liked about Train to Busan is you have this dad who's portrayed the whole time. I mean, he's portrayed negatively as an absent dad for like, everything leading up to the tragedy. But once like the zombie apocalypse is there, he's not good at being who he is. But all of the criticism about the dad is about how he was. Nobody's criticizing him now that he's trying to get his daughter to the safest place possible. And he's, he's doing everything it's all about how, you weren't actually the right thing. But when it mattered the most in this girl's life, the dad showed up. And I think it's like, okay, that's a dad thing that we can all identify with, because if you're a dad and you don't feel like you failed your kids at some point, I don't think you're dadding hard enough or whatever. At some point you're like, your kid's crying because you said something or did something or you didn't make it to something. And it's like, God, I feel like a piece of garbage right now. But then, if you got to get your kid to the hospital at 2 a.m., you get up and you drive them to the hospital and you sit with them for like 4 hours while they're getting stitched up or while they're getting over an illness. And all they have is you there. And you're like, okay, when it mattered, dad was there. And that's what I got from Train to Busan. And that's what I'm not getting from American cinema these days is we're getting like all this troubled backstory, but we're not getting the person to show up when it matters. We're just expecting them to keep failing. It's like, that's not how people work. And that's what's pissing me off.
Well, and why would you want to follow a character like that for an hour and a half or 2 hours? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's not appealing.
Right.
I think movies and heroes, protagonists need to be inspirational, aspirational. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. I don't want to see me on screen. Like I want to see one of my favorite. I loved the first Captain America movie that they did, and just like the transformation of Chris Evans is like, okay, he goes from, I mean, sure, he's super exaggeratedly small and pipsqueaky or whatever, but then when he comes out with the same values of like just this good natured, noble guy, but suddenly he's able to act. But you notice he doesn't do anything differently than he ever did.
That's right.
That's the best part of the first Captain America movie is he acts the exact same. It's just now he's more capable of doing what he would have already done. He would have already chased the guy down the street in the car. He just never would have caught him because he was he was subnormal even. And that's the magic. And they keep I don't know. I'm getting sick of people missing that.
That's a good movie. That's probably one of the better Marvel movies, and that's Joe Johnston, who also directed The Rocketeer.
Right.
He's old school, and it's these old school guys who just frankly know how to make better films and tell better stories and that movie also was very faithful to the original character and played the man out of time nicely.
Right.
Well, bellwether for me on all the Marvel movies was how are they going to treat Captain America? And I thought, are they going to mock him? Are they going to like take the edge off him? And they didn't. I was very, very pleasantly surprised that they kept him true.
Yeah, and even though Chris is a total libtard, he does he's such a douche. He's a fantastic Captain America, and and we've all had to learn. Those of us on the center right have all had to learn to separate the artist from the art. When they do something good, you got to give credit where credit's due.
The right's been doing that for a very long time. We've got a lot of practice because the moment and Twitter's just the light shining on it. But if you looked into Hollywood and who was making your movies for a while, you would see people with vastly divergent views from yourself. And it's only recently where we've gone, okay, now I can never watch a movie by this person again. I don't actually do that personally, but that's kind of where culture is going. But it's like we've been practicing this separate art from artists for quite a while, because if they do their job competently, then I really don't care what their politics are, and I won't even really know unless I go fishing for it. But if you're on Twitter now and you follow you're like, oh, I like that guy, and then you follow him, it's like, oh my God, you can't do that.
I made that mistake with James Mangold. I tweeted something really nice about Ford versus Ferrari. He liked it and he retweeted it, which blew my mind because I don't know how he saw it.
Yeah.
And so I started following him for about 48 hours. Here comes all the anti-Trump stuff, and I was just like, all right, sorry, dude. Well, we can still be friends, but I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to I'm not into self-abuse,
My favorite Captain America moment, though, from the Marvel movies is when he jumps out of the plane after like Thor like flies out or whatever, and they're like, but those are gods. He's like, there's only one god, ma'am, and he wears a robe and jumps, or he doesn't dress that way or whatever, and he jumps out, and I was like, they nailed it. That's exactly that's what I want.
I couldn't believe they did that. I couldn't,
What I can't believe is that they don't realize how much that resonates. That's what kills me. Is that okay? They did it, and maybe they meant it in a goofy way. Maybe they meant it in a mildly mocking way or like a chiding. But it's like, no, you don't understand. I don't think that this is exactly how the majority of America still feels. Is like they can identify with this, even if they, even if they have divergent politics and stuff. At the end of the day, we can go, these are actually just guys in capes, and I'm gonna jump out of the plane with them because who cares? But that's
it's endearing. I mean, that's that's the connection that you make with Cap, and one of the things I've always loved about Cap is the man at a time, because these days I feel like a man at a time. I think a lot of conservatives and people that are right of center feel like, what country and am I living in, and what is going on? Because I remember not too long ago in the 80s and the 90s when it wasn't like this.
Yeah.
So it's and Cap always kind of reminds me of my grandfather in a lot of ways too, who fought in the Battle of the Bulge and was one of those greatest generation. And so I see a lot of that, kind of similarities from that generation and that era. And I miss listening to my grandfather talk about modern culture, because he was kind of miffed by it as much as Cap is. It's funny.
Right. Yeah, it's